In the year 2025, global geopolitics reached a new intense threshold. Against the backdrop of escalating confrontation between the two global superpowers, the United States and China, the Panama Canal has taken center stage in the battle for influence. This narrow strip of land, connecting the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, has become a symbol of the old world order, where America dictated the routes and rules of global trade. But all signs point to a fundamental shift on the horizon, and the panic within the walls of the White House is only growing. Here arises the question that should concern every developed nation in the world. Can China truly seize control of global trade by creating its own alternative to the Panama Canal? That is precisely the challenge Beijing is tackling today. And the center of this battle has unexpectedly shifted to humble Nicaragua, one of the poorest countries in the Western Hemisphere. It is here that a new global logistics hub could emerge, capable of overturning the traditional frameworks of transportation. Nicaragua, with its population of 6,600,000 people and a territory slightly over 130,000 square kilometers, had long remained in the shadows. However, its geographical position, between two oceans and with access to Lake Nicaragua, the largest freshwater body in the region, turns this country into a strategic gem. Geologists, strategists, and military analysts spoke of its potential as a site for an alternative canal as far back as 100 years ago. But due to a range of reasons, political, technical, and financial, the choice fell on Panama. And it was this choice that determined the United States' path for a century. Today, the situation is changing rapidly. In the year 2013, Chinese businessman Wang Jing publicly announced for the first time a grandiose project, the construction of the Nicaraguan Canal, stretching 278 kilometers in length. Its key feature was to be the capacity to accommodate vessels with displacements of up to 250,000 tons. Unlike the Panama Canal, where size restrictions prevent the passage of supercargoes, this would have granted China and its partners fundamentally new logistical capabilities. However, sanctions, pressure from the United States, and the lack of direct support from the Chinese government, stalled its implementation. In the year 2021, China officially distanced itself from the initiative. But everything changed when Nicaragua abruptly severed diplomatic relations with Taiwan and established full cooperation with Beijing. This was not merely a gesture, it was a political signal. A direct appeal: help us realize our canal, and it will become your instrument of influence. Support was not long in coming. Delegations, investment groups, strategic consultations, all of it brought the project back onto the agenda. Today, the United States is once again turning its attention to the Panama region. The Trump administration of 2025 is betting on strengthening control, including military, over the Panama Canal. Panamanian leader Mulino, under intense foreign policy pressure, officially announced the severance of cooperation with China's Belt and Road Initiative. And most importantly, the United States now gains the right to unlimited passage of military vessels through the canal. This detail has gone unnoticed in the daily news cycle, but it holds enormous significance. What does this mean? Washington is solidifying its military presence and gaining access to a point through which up to 6% of all global trade passes. Control over this node means the ability to block shipments to undesirable countries, and first and foremost, to China. Such a situation renders the Chinese economy vulnerable, especially in conditions of intensifying competition and crises in the energy and raw materials markets. This is why Nicaragua is once again stepping into the spotlight. China realizes that its vulnerability in global logistics is its Achilles heel. One crisis, one conflict, and transit grinds to a halt. In this context, the construction of a canal becomes not merely an infrastructure project, but a matter of national security and strategic survival. Expert calculations confirm the route from Shanghai to New York when detouring via Africa takes up to 40 days. Through Panama, approximately 25. The new canal would shorten the route to 19,000 kilometers and offer a reduction in logistics costs by 30 to 40%. This amounts to benefits worth billions. But most importantly, it grants independence from the will of the United States. Moreover, the canal will be capable of servicing ships that today are forced to bypass both Panama and Suez, giving it a fundamentally different niche. And here enters the factor of scalability. Such a canal will benefit not only China, South Korea, Japan, Indonesia, India, all countries of the Asia-Pacific region will gain more flexible routes. European countries interested in diversifying their logistical chains will also support such a project, albeit unofficially. Whoever controls the sea gates controls the flow of goods, and, consequently, influence. As for Nicaragua itself, the stakes are colossal. According to analysts' estimates, annual revenues from transit fees may exceed $3 to $4 billion. That is nearly triple its entire current national budget. The new infrastructure will create over 200,000 jobs, including construction, logistics, security, and maintenance. The country's GDP could double within 5 years, turning it into the largest economic hub in Central America. Local elites are already speaking of a second chance for the country and a historic window of opportunity. But even this is not the limit. China is simultaneously constructing the so-called land-based alternative through South America. A railway project linking Peru and Brazil, combined with new ports, provides yet another bypass route. Construction is in full swing, and already in the year 2026, the first batch of cargo could depart from the Pacific port of Chancay and exit into the Atlantic. This is yet another signal. China is ready for a large-scale game on the logistics field. It is now becoming clear why the United States is actively interfering in the situation. They understand. Losing control over the Panama Canal would nullify their instruments of pressure. Moreover, if the project in Nicaragua is successfully completed, it would mark the first infrastructure defeat in U.S. history on its own backyard. And given the political context, a defeat in a geopolitical battle that they themselves initiated. March of the year, 2025, brought a multitude of confirmations that China is back in the game. Delegations from state banks, geological exploration teams, and preliminary agreements. China does not officially publicize state involvement, but the signatures on memorandums speak volumes. Funding could amount to up to $50 billion. The implementation period is projected at 7 to 8 years. This is comparable to the original construction of the Panama Canal in the early 20th century, but now, in the digital era, where timelines and scales are significantly accelerated. Will this mark the beginning of a new Cold War? Some analysts are convinced it has already begun. Only now the war is not fought with missiles, but with containers. Control over logistics is becoming the equivalent of control over the political will of states. And it is here that the future of a multipolar world is being decided. The real question is, will Washington allow the canal to be built? Will it try to stop the project through sanctions, provocations, or even hybrid military actions? Or will it risk triggering a large-scale confrontation over this strip of land between two oceans? Perhaps this will be the invisible line dividing the old order from a new reality. The future will tell. One thing is clear. Nicaragua is transforming from a little-known country into one of the key focal points in the struggle for global leadership. The coming years will be decisive not only for it, but for all those involved in global trade. And what do you think? Should China go all the way and complete this project? What will be the U.S. response? And who will actually win this race for the maritime gateways of the planet? Share your thoughts in the comments. It matters.